Republican gubernatorial candidates here in Massachusetts, Mike Minogue, had offered to pay for outside counsel to represent the auditor's office. So we have with us right now the one of the three Republican candidates for governor, Mike Minogue. Mike, welcome to NightSide. First time with us here. Appreciate you spending a few minutes with us this evening. How are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I just finished the RTC at Natick, and it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, I'm very familiar with Natick. Spent about 20 years out of that part of the state, beautiful part of the state. Spent a lot of time at the Natick, the West Suburban Hockey Arena, coaching Pee Wee and midget and all of that hockey. So I love Natick, and I hope you did well out there tonight.
I did very well. It was a great group.
You, as I said, find yourself now in alliance with the state auditor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Diana DiZoglio. Some might say, how did that happen? Why don't you tell us how you decided to get involved in this? It's really become a crusade.
Absolutely. So back in March, when I was just, considering and thinking about what was happening with the state and reviewing the balance sheet, it was pretty appalling that we had voted this in, and 72% of the population or the voters wanted it done, and they were not doing it. So I reached out to the state auditor, Diana DiZoglio, and I met with her, and she had two issues she was trying to solve, which was, one, to find a lawyer and a law firm that would take on the AG and the Commonwealth state, and two, would be funding for the lawyer. So I decided that I would assist because I think it's the right thing to do. And I did do that, and so that process has gone on until last week, and now they're going to go to phase 2 and move on to the next thing. So I'm very grateful to the lawyer, George Bain, and for his work and courage, and I give credit to the auditor who continues to push back against corruption. And we should all remember, we are not political enemies. Corruption is not a blue or a red issue. It's an American issue, and every taxpayer, all our citizens, do not want their tax dollars wasted. And we know we've got tons of waste, fraud, and excess. And it's not just in the legislature. It's in the $63 billion budget. That's where we need to get to. And when I am governor on day one, I'm going to bring in outside agencies. I'm going to start auditing every different department.
I was 63, soon to be probably $64 billion budget has certainly grown exponentially in the last, since let us say the turn of the century under both Republican and Democratic governors. So here we have a Republican candidate for governor and an incumbent Democratic Secretary of State. From my point of view, definitely trying to do what is in the interest of the vast majority of people here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I believe a part of the problem is that this has become a one-party state, and that in a normal state where there's some sort of a balance between Republicans and Democrats, you wouldn't have a problem like this. But I think things are out of whack when you look at the composition of the legislature. I think there's 4 state senators who are Republican and 36 Democrats, and there are about 25 state representatives and about 135 Democrats. This is a problem for anybody, including yourself, running for governor. And I think it's great that you have on this issue worked with Democrats, and I assumed it would be indicative of what you might be able to do if you had the good fortune of being elected governor.
Yeah, we need people that have been successful in the military or private sector to go in and replace our politicians. Our politicians have failed us. We need public servants who are coming in to solve problems. And you're 100% right. The one-party system allows overspending, which they do every year, overtaxing. We have 8 taxes, and Massachusetts takes more of your income than 90% of America, and overregulating. It's just slow. And because they're failing us, we don't solve any problems, and people are bailing, young and old, and 60% of the people leaving are between the ages of 25 and 44. That's our future. So we need a new kind of governor who's going to serve a purpose and help make Massachusetts, again, the best place to live, work, and raise a family.
One of the things we have talked about is what they call outflow, outmigration. U-Haul does their survey every year, and they find that there are more people leaving Massachusetts than coming to Massachusetts, and that is obviously a real issue. How confident are you? And we're going to be talking with Diana DiZoglio in just a few minutes. She is now in front of the court, in front of the state Supreme Court. How confident are you the state Supreme Court, which, by the way, have some of the members have been appointed by Republicans and some have been appointed by Democrats, but sometimes they get together and they come down with crazy decisions like the Mattis decision. I'm sure you're familiar with that one that we've been fighting for the last couple of years. I don't think most people in Massachusetts know that if the parole board continues on the track they're going, because of the Mattis decision, we'll have about 150 first-degree murderers who committed their crimes at the ages of 18, 19, and 20, which will soon be walking the streets of Massachusetts. I know that's a different issue, but it's to me so indicative of where our priorities are totally backwards in this state.
Yeah, the number one role of the governor is to keep the community safe and uphold the law. And that's a very simple thing that we need to do. It's also why we also need to get rid of the sanctuary state status, and we need to remove the criminal, violent, gang member, illegal immigrants. That's compassion and common sense, and we do not want to send these people back into the community. But if you just look at why we need a new kind of governor, the auditor is fighting for the legislature. We need a new kind of governor because on day one, I can open the books, bring in the third-party group, and I can start auditing the entire $63 billion budget. I can also hold these parole boards accountable because I get to appoint them, and we can have a different mindset that is not about campaigning on problems, it's about solving them. And nearly most of these things around the audit, energy, education, healthcare, there are solutions immediately to be implemented, and that's why we need to have a new kind of leader in there.
My last question is, the Democratic Attorney General, Andrea Campbell, has actually been a roadblock to the Democratic State Auditor as she attempts to do her job as voted in the ballot initiative in 2024 by 72% of the population. As someone who's never been held public office, what do you think when you see that sort of interaction between two Democratic constitutional office holders, the Attorney General and the Auditor? To me, it's inexplicable, and I've been around a long time. I'm just curious what your reaction is to that seeming intramural warfare within the Democratic Party.
Well, in a way, it's not even a one-party system anymore. It's just a corrupt party. But that's one of the things about being a public company CEO. We've never had a governor of Massachusetts that's been a public company CEO. I was a CEO for 19 years of Aviamed. I grew that company from little to over $1 billion. I got it to zero debt and very profitable. Most important, I created thousands of jobs and saved hundreds of thousands of lives. In the public market as a CEO, you are audited, and if you don't, you will be fired. If you do something wrong, you will go to jail. That's the accountability that the private market has that we don't have in our government. And if we have a new kind of leader coming in that will hold people accountable and bring transparency to the entire budget, we will shake out billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and excess. And I will give money back to the towns that are being bankrupt by Beacon Hill.
We will be talking with Diana DiZoglio right after this break, but I'm sure that she's very appreciative of you taking an interest in her fight, because it doesn't appear to me that she has too many allies on Beacon Hill. But I think she is representing the people of Massachusetts up there, and eventually she will be rewarded for it with a successful audit of the state legislature. So nice to have you on the show, and look forward to having you back. Thank you very much, Mike.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
Republican candidate for governor. Absolutely. Thanks very much, Mike. As I promised, when we get back, we're going to be talking with Diana DiZoglio. And again, this is an interesting alliance, if you will, between a Republican running for governor and a Democratic state auditor, essentially trying to accomplish what 72% of the people of Massachusetts voted for. To me, it's clear that this ballot initiative, the decision of the people, the voters, needs to be followed and not stonewalled. That's why I'm very much concerned about this, and I hope you are as well. Diana DiZoglio, the auditor, joins us now. Auditor DiZoglio, welcome back to NightSide. Did you get a chance to listen to any of our interview with Mike Minogue?
I did. I actually caught the tail end. Was in the car, just got back home, thankfully. Was in Boston tonight. Got to go and celebrate the Chinese New Year festivities in Chinatown, and did get to catch the tail end of the interview. Thanks for inviting me on, Dan. Really appreciate it.
Now, where do we stand at this point? Obviously, if you want to describe a little bit of how important his help was to you in this effort, you now have an attorney who I'm familiar with, who actually ran for Attorney General here in Massachusetts, a very accomplished class action attorney, Shannon Liss Reardon, who has successfully, on behalf of plaintiffs, sued some big companies in this country, Uber, FedEx, and Starbucks, to name a few. Tell us where we are in this process. I mean, people are interested in this story. My listeners are interested. You'll take a few phone calls, I'm sure. People know the number 617-254-1030. Where do we stand at this point?
So essentially, we have just filed with the Supreme Judicial Court, and we did so after months and months and months of trying to get the Attorney General to represent our office in court and represent the people in court. But the Attorney General has done nothing but stonewall us. And I know this isn't news to your listeners. Your listeners know all about this. But the Attorney General has essentially been stonewalling our efforts to sue the legislature into compliance with the 72% voter mandated law. And you did just speak with Mike Minogue, who I just heard on, and he was just talking a little bit about his attempt to assist our office. He did reach out to me months ago before he was a candidate for public office, and it said, look, I'm happy to try to assist with this and, pay for an attorney who can represent your office since the Attorney General won't represent you. And I said what, would be expected. I said, thank you for the offer. Sure. I appreciate the offer to pay for an attorney to represent us. He assisted in finding an attorney, and we talked to Attorney George Bien, great attorney, very accomplished, does great work. George did his best to try to assist our office, but unfortunately the Attorney General turned his offer to assist into, some sort of an issue where she kept alleging that it was unethical, that someone assists our office at no cost to the taxpayer. We went through the State Ethics Commission. As a result, we just wanted to make sure that we were crossing our T's and dotting our I's, and we made sure to get clearance for Attorney Bien to be able to work with our office and for Mike Minogue to fund the attorney doing that work on behalf of the taxpayers so that the taxpayers didn't have to pay. The State Ethics Commission said it was completely okay for this payment to occur and for taxpayers not to have to foot the bill. But Attorney General Campbell kept essentially kicking and screaming about this and saying that she was still not going to approve Attorney George Bien to be our Special Assistant Attorney General. And really, the AG was just creating more of a distraction by constantly focusing on this issue instead of focusing on the underlying issue of the fact that the legislature is violating the law right now. So we decided to move on to the next phase. Of course, we're very thankful to Attorney Bien for his great work trying to assist our office. And we did decide to move forward with Attorney Shannon Liss Reardon for this next phase, getting access to court, and have asked Attorney Liss Reardon if she would represent us and represent the Commonwealth in this case in front of the SJC and make our case for the voters to finally get access to the financial receipts and state contracts and other administrative and business records of our state legislature as they deserve. So this is going before the court right now. We have filed suit. The Attorney General has promised to work to get the case dismissed. She is working against the people. You will hear that she's just staying out of it. She's not just staying out of it. She's not standing on the sidelines. She is actively working to oppose this and working to get this dismissed from the court so that she can protect her friends, the Speaker and the Senate President, from having to follow the law. They have subsequently rewarded her with a nice 12% budget increase to her budget, and she will see that annually moving forward. So, can't think of a better example of a quid pro quo, but
Yes.
the laws being broken, there's a payoff happening, and our own Attorney General is working against us right now. So, I heard you talking a little bit, Dan, about, it's Democrat, and two constitutional officers are at odds with each other. Yes, we are. And yes, I'm a registered Democrat, but, more so, I'm a kid from Methuen and Lawrence, okay? And my neighbors are not happy right now. And I live and work in the communities that I grew up in. And people are upset. They are furious that the law that they voted for is not being implemented. So, yeah, my party leaders and the party establishment is telling me to back off and to know my role, essentially. But sorry, not sorry, my community is much more important than the party establishment, and it's the right thing to do. These people need to follow the law. I don't care that they're in the upper echelons of the Democratic Party establishment. They're not following the law. So this is a nonpartisan issue, and, it's something that everybody can agree on. Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. We want to know how our tax dollars are being spent. It's beyond past time to do the right thing and get this law followed. I hope the SJC sides with the people, not the politicians.
Well, I'll tell you, it's an extraordinary story, and the Attorney General, Andrea Campbell, is more than an obstacle. She's basically become a roadblock, and I cannot, for the life of me, understand. Again, obviously the legislature, the Speaker of the House and the Senate President, who are the people who have refused to follow the will of the people. They are the politicians who have refused to follow the will of the people. They also do fund various and sundry offices, and I did notice that the Attorney General's office received a pretty healthy 12% increase in their budget, when most people who are paying those taxes are not getting a raise anywhere close to 12%. And it's a crazy, insane story on the face of it.